What was your first impression?
When I first heard about the plot of the film, I personally really like that sort of time paradox, that kind of science fiction, which is sort of concept based rather than space operas or aliens and stuff like that. I hadn't actually read much Robert Heinlein, but I always think that in a way short stories with a really great idea make for better material than a whole novel, which is sort of harder to flesh out or to do justice to in film. And often films work much better just taking a really simple, clever idea from a short story and expanding on that. And then reading the script, I thought it was sort of brilliantly laid out how they've dealt with a fairly complicated concept. Yeah. I like the role of Mr. Robertson because he's a kind of grey bureaucratic figure in a way. He's sort of a bit of a mysterious character, but I like those ambiguous characters who work in the world of intelligence, and he's a slightly sort of manipulative character. I wouldn't say he's necessarily he's not a bad guy, but I think he has motives that are for the greater good of society, not necessarily the individuals he works with. And so just playing a character who is he's not particularly emotional or whatever, but he sort of has an important part in the story as a whole, and guiding the other characters in a way.
So would you say he's a bit of a puppet master?
Puppet master. He's possibly a bit of a puppet master. Yes, yes. Is he a bit of a puppet master? He could be perceived as that way. But yeah, I think essentially he's a bureaucrat, really.
If you had to describe what Predestination was about, what would you say?
If I was able to say it's like one of the ultimate mindfucks, I would. But I know you can't say that sort of thing, so I won't say that. But Predestination is partly about time travel and time paradoxes, and how the choices people make affect the future, and how it changes the individuals who have to act out on these alterations in history, and about the myriad possible parallel situations that can evolve through that. Sorry. It's a really complicated one to talk about, this one. Yeah.
Does the concept of predestination?
Okay. Well, yes. So within the concept of predestination, there's the $1 million question: is everything preordained, or can events be altered, or are you always stuck in a loop? No matter what alterations you do, the end will be the same. And I don't know if this film answers that or whatever, but yeah, it's an unanswerable question. I mean, it is a really complicated concept, and the more you think about it, the more complicated it gets. And so ultimately, it doesn't pay to sort of think it out too much. Like it just, yeah.
Story.
Well, Mr. Robertson comes into the story and introduces Jane to Space Corps, which is ostensibly a centre for training astronauts and young female recruits to be companions to astronauts. But he has bigger plans for her, and he has a kind of a knowledge of her future. And in a way, he knows that he's going to have to subject her to some pretty radical and painful, life-changing experiences. But again, in his perception, I guess, for the greater good of mankind. And I think he cares for her, but again, he has that slightly cold, bureaucratic understanding, kind of like a military thing in a way of, caring for your troops, but knowing ultimately that you're possibly sacrificing them for some, grander scheme.
Could you?
Well, the Temporal Bureau, I guess, would be, say, coming out of the sort of 50s, 60s atomic age and physics and Einstein's laws of relativity, and somewhere along the line, someone sort of made some discovery about time travel, and so the Temporal Bureau is, I guess, a combination between something like NASA and the CIA and some very, very black ops, highly secret government organisation, and also at the heart of it, it's a kind of detective agency as well, and they set out to correct situations that have happened and that will happen. And I guess, they're never really entirely sure if what they're doing is setting up some further disaster or not. So in a way, it's a sort of snake eating its tail sort of scenario. But they're a fairly high tech. Police department in a way. It's always that sort of I think audiences and readers have always been fascinated by time travel. Because you can go to different times and the past and experiences that you'll never have, but also there's that sort of fundamental desire in most people, probably to more than go to the future, to go back into the past and change events in your own life and fix mistakes that you've made. And yes, I guess this film is a little bit about that, and whether if you could go back, whether that would affect your present and future anyway. I guess because it's one of the modes of transport that isn't currently available to us, it fascinates people. Although you can buy time machines on the internet, apparently. Well, yeah, you can. I'm not saying they work, but if you've got a spare couple of grand and you're slightly gullible, then they are available. Yeah.
It's a temporal agent.
A temporal agent is someone who works for the Temporal Bureau, and they're, I guess, time-travelling cop is one word for it. They possibly have to perform assassination duties and things like that, at great personal cost to their own lives. But yes, I guess time-travelling detective assassin is probably the closest thing. Yeah.
audiences seeing the film?
I hope that I hope that audiences just really enjoy getting caught up in a very unpredictable plot, and it's sort of film that you can't just sort of sit back and predict what's going to happen because you're so pre-programmed to, understanding the plot development of genre films, and to to be surprised and shocked as it goes on, and just get caught up in the ride. And it's actually, as well as being sort of very exciting and all that sort of stuff, it's kind of quite a moving story as well, and I think because of Ethan and Sarah's performances particularly, you really feel for the characters and their journey, and and also it's exciting entertainment. So it's thought-provoking and entertaining. Both those things, which films aren't always necessarily both those things. Yeah.